This is the poetry reading and roundtable edition of People and Their Poems, hosted by Sandy Lee Carlson. Featured poets today are Prithvijit Sinha and Susan Marie Powers. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome everybody to our poetry roundtable, and glad to see everybody here this afternoon. And just to get our conversation rolling, Susan, why don't you share with us some poetry?
All right. And remind me how this goes. Do I just read my 4 poems in a row? Is that what I do? And then we'll go with the round robin? Yes, I see Ed nodding. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And if you want to introduce them at all, you go right ahead. Whatever you want to do.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
So I'm going to start with a poem called Pilgrimage. And I was inspired to write this poem by a friend of mine as she told me her story about taking care of her mother, who is in the advanced stages of dementia. And I have after the title, I have a little information to orient the listener. Pilgrimage. When the Black Death plague ravaged medieval Europe, many people made a pilgrimage to the Canterbury Cathedral to pay homage to the religious martyr, St. Thomas Becket. They were seeking healing, respite from the hardships of medieval life, and eternal salvation. As my husband would say, kind of a tall order, but there you go. Bedraggled pilgrims stumbled toward Canterbury, some with horses, their weary nostrils blown wide. Wooden wheels stick in mud, but faith drives them on. They yearn to kiss Becket's footprints, clutch bone relics against their hearts. Lepers cling to hope, a balm, a cure, knees on gray stones in the chapel. Your mother also journeys through darkness, borne by an ambulance announcing its presence, rocking her body in blinking lights. Those pilgrims planned their trip, round loaves wrapped in cloths, dried meat, but your mother packed nothing. She is the package, trussed on a gurney. After she fell, she watched the nurses' thick soles stop by her nose. Then hands cradled her body, placed her into the open yawn of an ambulance door. Your mother, those pilgrims, 1,000 starlit years apart, suffering, searching for relief. The surgeon's steady hands, the cold shrine, pills, a needle. Your phone rings you awake, summons you. You glide on empty roads, early morning air sharpen your lungs. When you arrive, your mother is happy to see you. She knows your face, if not your name. In the yellow light of the ER, the endless waiting room, you read to your mother the stories she loves about crusty Vermonters wrestling with tractors, demanding privacy. A harsh sun bore down on the pilgrims. They leaned against canes, wore out their shoes, prayed to saints. At night, they told stories of vain roosters and human error, body tales with determined widows, greedy men, corrupt priests. Like your mother, the pilgrim's eyes gleamed, hungry for life, folly, and all. Your words transport your mother. Your words envelop her in love. Your words are the glittering stones of the shrine, the grail. Love flickers, warms your mother's beating heart, heals her wounds. We are travelers all. We search for our stories, long for the ending, dread the dark night of denouement, the quieting of blood. Hold our relics close to our hearts. Hold the hands of those we love. Thank you. And as I said, that was inspired by my friend. She reads the same book over and over to her mother because her mother doesn't remember. She's heard the stories before and she just loves them. Makes her laugh every time. All right. My next poem is called Gather My Chi. I do Tai Chi, and I have performed this poem when I'm reading at a podium. I'm just going to use my hands. I'm not going to stand up, but I'll use my hands. So throughout the poem, there are some Tai Chi moves. It's also, I was experimenting. This poem is a sestina, so it does follow that form. Gather my chi. Water cascades down high mountain. Overwhelmed by spring's sharp scent, I watch gray clouds roll as a swallow takes wing. In this barren place, there are no lotus blossoms, no distractions, just reminders that stars matter more than that for which I yearn. Paired swallows throw wings wide, yearn for warm Atlantic waters, reach the mountain, fly for weeks as they whirl, guided by strings of stars. They leave mud-daubed nests, follow the scent of fish and sea, driven to find lush blossoms. Swallows graze waters, plunge beaks, drink deeply on the wing. I wend my way, wonder how to live, wing it when I am lost, say I'll manage, yearn to be guided by instinct, to find a way to blossom. There is no path. I alone must push the mountain. Grass and feathers soften the nest, emit scent. Here, swallows find safety under distant stars. I balance on one foot. I wish I could rise like the stars, look across constellations and humble moons, wing my way toward the sun, where I catch the scent of melting wax as my feathers shed and I plunge, yearn for a solution to all Earth's troubles, bigger than a mountain, impossible to solve. Take refuge in the heart of a blossom. Flower, tell me your secret, all hope lost, and yet you blossom. I hold the moon, move into single whip. Above me, stars watch as the earth turns. I bow to the mountain. Swallows fly south, lifting wing after wing. They fly to tropics, buzzing, humid, a place to yearn for all that's lost, buried, nothing left but bitter scent. I balance and breathe, play the pipa, gather my chi, find the scent of salt water. A storm is coming. Now is not the time to blossom, nor is it the time to bare one's heart. It is foolish to yearn for wisdom when death stalks us. Dark clouds cover stars. Sometimes movement is better than thought. The cardinal's wing flickers. Next to his fire, I am rooted, motionless as a mountain. I part the wild horse's mane, while stars bless the mountain. Say a prayer of gratitude that gives my heart wing. The scent of the lotus blossom teaches my heart to yearn. Thank you. And that's it for long poems. The next two are short. So this next poem is titled Canada Geese. And let's see, I don't know. I think I lost one, but that's okay. So Canada Geese. And this poem was published in Sixfold in 2021. Canada geese call across a frozen sky. Black forms traverse the moon's wide face. Clouds float mindlessly across a silver sheen. I look up from my snow-covered garden. These cries open my heart. How would it be to glide in their midst? Flow on currents, be shielded by wings. To sing in a minor key, alert my mate, warn my family. Geese track stars across Great Lakes, mountains, farmlands, cities blink away darkness. They return to nest sites warmed by spring air, fragrant trees, long days. The honking fades and birds wing away. I weigh the loss of wild song become memory. Inside my house, a fire burns, a sulky cat prowls. I balance on ice, take the lead, buffer birds behind me, eddying, dipping, following the moon. Thank you. And last one. This poem is Happy Buddha. And I went to a workshop at the Fine Arts, a work center in Provincetown, which was amazing. And was inspired to write about my happy Buddha when I found him in a garden. A stone Buddha in Provincetown squats among singing lilies and gladioli. Their summer voices blare orange pastels in loudspeaker fashion. Buddha, how do you resist the urge to swing your plump hips to this sunny blast of colors? Surely you must rise from that lotus position and belly dance among the cone flowers. Your lovely round tummy smoothly undulating in the afternoon sun. The loon's tremolo admires you, and roses twining the fence beg you for a kiss. Maybe a tango would do as you pull their vines hither and yon. And before you foxtrot back to your spot, take me in your arms for a sexy waltz. Look deeply into my eyes, and I will sigh as you pirouette into place, already missing your strong arms.
Nice, I like that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Susan. Anybody want to jump in and comment on Susan's poetry?
Love it.
Well,
Oh, thank you.
I enjoyed the last poem very much. It was a great contrasting image of, the figure of a stone Buddha surrounded by the life in a garden, and your reference to dancing. I enjoyed that very much.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I mean, I could visualize that. I could see it in my mind. So
Mhm.
it
Good.
resonated. Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you think your wheelhouse is, Susan, for your poetry? Where are you most comfortable, or what are you most comfortable writing about?
Well, I've been writing a lot of eco poetry lately, so that's been a real emphasis for me. I'm very afraid for our environment. I'm very interested in it, and I also much of my writing is about searching for what it is that I, in particular, but we as humans should be doing on this earth. So that's kind of a drive. But I also like to be funny sometimes because I think life is funny, and there are a lot of things that make me laugh. So I tend to end, when I read, I tend to end with one of my funny poems, just because why not? Have a little joy, right? It's a lot to
Right.
worry about.
Right, we can get so immersed in loving things that we forget to enjoy them.
Yeah.
Who are your influences, Susan? What poets do you read when you have a chance?
Mary Oliver. I mean, I'm in love with Mary Oliver. And I favor women poets, contemporary poets. I mean, I love Emily Dickinson too, but and there's some literary venues I follow. I think the Rattle is really creative. So I check in with the Rattle every day, just so contemporary. But I'm an avid reader and I love to read poetry, but I read novels constantly. So there's that.
Got it. And the way you weave in your own spiritual practice and the metaphor of the mountain that you will move, that can't be moved, and have your first, the value of the mountain changes as you grow and think. It was very lovely. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Charlotte, do you have your hand up, or is that just by accident?
I don't see it.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's just the way my screen was. Okay. All right.
I would say that I read the Canterbury Tales about 50 years ago,
Yeah.
and just your little bit of words brought them back to my mind with a lot of life. And I wonder if
Mhm.
that's something you read a long time ago as well.
I'm a retired English and psychology teacher.
Ah,
Yes, and so I've taught the Canterbury Tales over and over again. Oh yeah.
I think we should
So,
have Susan to the western part of the state so we can see her fully perform the Tai Chi while she's doing
I'll be
that.
up there on the stage.
yeah.
I'd be delighted. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're really fortunate today to have not only Susan Powers as a featured poet, but also Prithvijit Sinha from India, who has persevered. We rescheduled this to today, and he was waiting for us yesterday and is here now. And we're just really fortunate. Um, and thank you for your patience with us, because it's a
Thank
pleasure
you
to
for
have
having me.
and to have your
Thank you.
amazing poetry. So thank you for being here. Thank you for agreeing to be a featured poet, and look forward to hearing what you have to say now. So thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. It's close to midnight here, and I really missed the session, but I would say that it was so interesting. It was so diverse last time. There was such a strand of humor, good humor that ran through all the poems, and I listened to it in podcast form as well after watching it on the YouTube channel officially, and I watched it twice or thrice in a given day, back to back. That's how interesting it was. So I'm really fortunate to be here once again. And today, the poem that I'm going to read is titled Branches. It's inspired by this very simple journey that I took to the countryside with my father. Um, it was close to evening time, and all the sights and sounds that I could see with my own eyes, I tried to visualize and put it in poetic form. So here it is. Branches. The branches were taut as an arrow, or directly pawing the air with arms shaped like pitchforks. They could never envision, however, the violence of our world. In a farm next to this foliage, tailored by someone with superb skills, bearing a village's heartland and the phonetics of air, were a farmer and his cows. They were singing, without words, the last notes of an agrarian song. No animals rustled, but three teenage lads took care of this time of the evening. They asked me my name. One of them gave me a good smile. He was the countryside's rising sun. He said the river was just an ordinary stream of water now. The call for prayer came when he put his arms around his friend's shoulders. Shoulder to shoulder they walked, but the river didn't end. Similarly, that evening of amity and fulfillment didn't end for them. All evenings are theirs for this devotion to each other. The branches sway, moths dance unabashedly around them, and little mosquitoes hum like pheromones. Long may this countryside live with them and the tree lands. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to read another poem or two, Prithvijit? You're more than welcome to.
Yes, I would like to read another poem.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much for that. Okay, so this poem was written when, of course, I was in the throes of a very bad spell of viral fever for at least 2 or 3 weeks. And while the world completely, sort of went topsy-turvy around me, I finally found the strength to write down all my feelings in words. And this poem was one of them. It also signaled the coming of spring, and so it's titled Spring. A sensitive sky is a bar. The light comes. It reveals familiar sounds, beaks and energetic wings, and so many moving temperaments. It also tenderly reveals green increments in the nearest corner of our world, schooled by the binaries of flora and soleil. Multiplicities reside here, cradled by enigmatic river as it takes a nap. March curls its toes and looks up. It is no match for the bougainvillea's ethereal jewelry. If a sensitive sky is a bar and has curious eyes for these sweet inspirations, the earth is a cradle for spring. Only this time, the earth is a father molding himself under a sensitive sky. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, that last line was really, really evocative. The earth is a father molding himself.
Under a sensitive
The
sky. Yes.
sky,
Thank you
yeah,
very much.
not what we expect when we have the archetype of the Earth Mother. That's really, really,
Yes.
really makes you.
Mine. Yes. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. Did you want to say some more about that?
Yes, my idea exactly was to, present a picture of the Earth because we often see it as the Earth Mother, which of course it is. But in a world which is already, riddled with so much, how should I put it, distorted ideas of masculinity, and of course the gendered relationships, which have not given us anything positive across centuries and years and decades. So I thought, why not end this poem on a note where the paternal feeling that we associate with nature can come forward to the surface. And, it can mold itself along with the romanticism and the imagination that poetry begets. So that was only my simple idea.
Well, yeah, it just challenges the anthropomorphism that the anthropomorphic ideas that we attach to things. And it had me
Yes,
thinking, maybe we say Earth is mother and then we mistreat her. If Earth is father,
absolutely.
we end up maybe thinking, when father comes home, we might be in trouble. Your poetry was full of challenges. Also, the palm branches that were shaped like pitchforks.
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, yeah. I mean, coming out of a Christian tradition, the notion of palm trees heralding peace, and yet they're shaped like pitchforks. Just really, you got me thinking, and I appreciate being wakened up by your poetry. So thanks a lot, Prithvijit.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You had said in one of the other sessions you were on that uh, you think in your language and then translate it to English or something like that.
Yes.
Um, do you have anything like handy you could read in your or native tongue, or can you read a piece of one of the ones you read in your native tongue so we could hear the different subtleties and things maybe?
Yes. In fact, the poem that I read first, Branches, I wrote another poem called An Evening, which is sort of a companion piece uh, to that particular one. Actually, it was my sincere wish that if I could recite a poem or, a few couplets in my own language. So what I'm going to read are just a few introductory lines from that poem. So while you say in evening in English, you say it as wo sham in the Hindustani language. So it basically is a mixture of Urdu and Hindi. Both languages are equally important within India and across India, especially in the region where I live, that is Lucknow, which kind of formed this language beautifully and has continued to maintain that. So if you allow me, I'll just read the introductory lines. वो शाम अंधेरे यतीम खानों से सांझ दूर भाग रहा है साल के पेड़ों से जंगल कितना भरा हुआ है जैसे नदी की ताजी धारा मुसलसल नौके को आगे बढ़ा रही हो उन पेड़ों से निकलती आखिरी धूप खेतों की परिक्रमा कर रही है and if we have time can I just also read the English translation of that?
Of course, please do.
Thank you. and evening in the countryside in parentheses. The dusk has run away from dark orphanages. Families of Sal cover the forest with abundance, just like the river's buoyant currents guide the grand boat ahead. The last blossoms of warm sunlight emerge from among those trees and now circumambulate around the farmlands. O medicine takers, come. The winds are not fidgety. Treat them unhesitatingly. Gather around here. The tasteful smell of curries coming from the maternal homestead has turned this evening into a dominion of delectable flavors. Tell sleep to resist. On your feathery shirt hung on the clothesline, something intangible occurs. Watch how the moonlight soothes its torn parts. Those particles filled with voluminous light will now dispatch a night's worth of beauty for all days to come. Thank you. I basically read the whole poem. Well, thank you for the opportunity.
It sounds like in hearing you, it sounds like your rhythm in both languages is pretty consistent. Do you have is it hard sometimes to get the same rhythm going from one language to another?
Sometimes it may be hard when you write or when you get down to write it because you want to get the nuances in just the right dose. You want to keep the tone subtle because Urdu, especially or Hindustani, is a very subtle language. So it calls for a lot of intricacies and nuances. And sometimes translating those words requires a lot of, nerve-wracking work. But ultimately, find the rhythm because you speak in that language, you hear it all around you. And I try to keep both languages together as much as possible in terms of writing and also in terms of translation. So it gives me a lot of freedom.
All
Wow.
right.
Thank you. Thank you. Did anybody want to chime in or comment?
I do want to say that I love the images. It works very visual and beautiful. And there are a lot of emotions. So quite a range.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually also take photographs. So what I
Okay.
do now, and since 2022, I found that I have the knack for photography as well, and some of the images are pretty good. Some of them can even be great. So what I do now is that I photograph, and then I look at the photographs, observe them, and of course, when you are in a location, you take in everything, the shades, the moods, the colors, and everything. And I find that it's a very good shorthand to translate those emotions into poetry. So I'm really glad that you could respond to the emotions, especially, and the visuality of it.
You know, I was a sports reporter and photographer, and um, when you have the camera and you're trying to follow action, or you're sitting with a player waiting for that player to do something, you don't catch a lot of the subtleties that might be happening around that player during the same time because you're so focused on when you're going to pull the trigger to get the ball coming in or to get the right look on somebody's face. So um, I find it's a little bit different with some nature photography because you can take in the whole thing and then find what you want to look at.
Yes, it's nature photography is solitary, but I can understand sports photography can be, breakneck, given the nature of sports, the adrenaline with it. But it's its own art. We have some wonderful photographs, of course, of the sports arenas. You have a really interesting job, I guess.
I
You
felt a lot of joy in your rhythm, your cadence. I couldn't
Thank you.
necessarily follow all the words, but it felt very musical. and very joyous. So you
Thank you.
transmitted that to me. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Very much.
He seems to have the same demeanor every time we see him online in a session. So it would be interesting to like see him if he's not happy and he's writing something and reading it.
It's interesting you say that because last time, when I was not a part of the session, when I saw the session and then I heard it again and again, I thought on some level, thank God I was not a part of the session because according to me, my poems are very earnest every time, very emotional. And the last session was full of humor. Whether it was a poem on getting, a traffic ticket, or of course, Miss Thomasina Levi's poem on, going on a strike.
Yeah.
And, it was full of humor, the session. But at the same time, Miss Thomasina's poem on snow-covered countryside, and of course, Sandy Ma'am's own poem was a very nice contrast to all of that. But humor was the underlying theme.
Yeah.
Involuntary, I guess, but it made the session really interesting for me as a listener and a viewer.
Oh, cool. That's great.
Well, thank you so much, Prithviji. You bring so much to the conversation. Hey, Sam, you wanna read next? You got something?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, everyone out here is local except for Prithviji, correct?
I think we're all Connecticut. Charlotte, are you Connecticut as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone's local. So this poem is called Highway I-95. So just for Prithvijit's benefit, Highway I-95, I stands for interstate, and 95 is the name of the road. It happens to be the longest highway, autostrada, motorway, however it's known in India. It runs about 2,000 miles, starts up in Maine and ends in Miami, and it runs up and down the East Coast. So it's the most heaviest traffic road in the United States. This is called Highway I-95. The road of life is such a trip. What a blast being alive. I don't want this ride to end unless it is for a brand new drive, like taking a trip on Highway I-95. What comes after do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do? Or after you pass go? What comes after the color violet? New colors and new sounds, new roads to be found. If there are colors that cannot be seen and sounds which cannot be heard, maybe there's a path to pastures more green or a road to some higher ground. Like going from here to there or there to here. It's better to be anywhere and to be free and in the clear. I don't want to die, so I'll just fade away like a flower falling into the ground, or today becoming yesterday, like a bubble bursting on a pond, or a song after the last note sounds. I'll just get myself a brand new car and go on an all-new drive. I'm not sure where I'm going, but I'm feeling totally alive. It'll be a gas taking another trip on Highway I-95. I'm sure you all know Highway I-95.
To be avoided.
When I was in college and we took a spring break trip to Fort Lauderdale, we thought, oh, what the heck? We're down there. We're going to drive up to Orlando. And so we're driving along and, you have to get off at a certain exit number and we're driving and the numbers are flying by. And we're like, no way this trip's going to take 4 hours. And then we get to exit 50 and it says next exit 50 miles. And then we got that 50 miles and it said next exit 40 miles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a long ride.
Yep.
That's a great metaphor, though, Sam. And I think the image of joy and the sort of those things about life that are fleeting, like the flowers and being free and in the clear and the bubbles on a pond, all those things are just so ebullient and so full of joy. And you really do lift up the interstate. Well, there are parts of 95, nobody's on it. And you feel like you own the countryside. And then you're in DC. And so just what but it is life. It's exactly right, because you're free and in the clear, and then sometimes you're stuck and not, and then you're free again. It's that whole pulse, you know?
It's all of a ride on Highway I-95.
I like the image of today fading into yesterday. Like we want to hold on to today, and then all of a sudden it's really yesterday, and now we're in tomorrow.
Right.
And back to those flowers that fade. It's such a great image because it's funny. If you walk now in the woods and you get the spring ephemerals, they don't last. You better get out there and enjoy them while they're there, because one hot day, 2 hot days, and those things are passing and replaced by the next thing and the next thing. Those things are also beautiful but different, and that's life, right? It's just such a great image.
Yeah, I'm ready to get on the next road.
Well, thanks, Sam. Charlotte, you want to read?
Yeah. I wrote this in November. The sword. A sword came to me upon the death of my mother. The sword had passed down upon the death of my grandmother. As I stand, my left hand flies far into the distance to touch my grandmother's father's grandfather, a major in the U.S. Army. And now I raise in my right hand the sword he raised in 1812. His sword is heavy and worn. It is not the sword of a parade uniform. As I cut the air, my hand shakes. It is not just the blade's weight. After November 5th, 2024, it is the weight of defending a country.
Ed and I have been jumping in a lot. Would anybody else like to go first?
Maybe I'm not supposed to have done political poetry.
Oh, I don't think that at all. I had trouble finding my unmute button here. No, I mean, I think that it's a powerful generational poem, and our country has gone through generations of conflict too. And no matter where people are in the political spectrum, I don't think anybody's going to disagree that we are in a crisis turning point right now. It's frightening, and we'll see what happens. And I think many of us in our own ways are trying to do what we can do to stand up for what we believe in.
If I could just add to that from the perspective of a public school teacher who teaches English. There are very few documents in the Common Core curriculum, whether it's, what was the nationwide Common Core or the state stuff, but let's go with the state stuff. There are very few documents that are required. Among them are Lincoln's second inaugural, when he was trying to pull the nation back together.
Mm-hmm.
Another is Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech.
Mm-hmm.
And Shakespeare, because everybody in our country right up to the 1930s was reading the Shakespeare and the Bible, whether the focus was on the Old Testament or the New. So these were common texts, and there were, and Gettysburg Address is another one.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach high school sophomores in an affluent town, and they didn't get the references, for example, to when he says 50 years ago, and he's talking about King Jr. is talking about 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation. and the Civil War in Gettysburg. That year was an important year in our history, but the kids don't get that 5 is an allusion to 7 years ago, which was the Gettysburg Address. They don't know what the Gettysburg Address was about and why it was a pretty significant moment, a turning point in our history. And I think, and then all of us, I think most of us maybe, grew up singing "My Country 'Tis of Thee" after saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes.
Right before you could sit back down, you had to get those verses out. And that is a part of that speech. And there are so many moments. And life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, an allusion to the Declaration of Independence.
Mm-hmm.
The document is a masterpiece of rhetoric, and it is full of those references that should come naturally to kids. You know, we should just know these things because we celebrate the 4th of July, and the Civil War comes up in our history classes and Gettysburg, but the kids don't know the references. And they can't figure out what the significance of those moments were in our history. So I think the what really complicates discourse right now is that there isn't, something got lost. And I'm not one for blaming COVID for things, but I think something happened where standards really kind of slipped when kids were not in school and things were not cohesive. So kids were hearing the same thing in the same way, in the same environment, and engaging each other in conversations about what were our foundational documents and what did they signify.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me right now, the question becomes, how do we get a common get ourselves on common ground so that we're talking about the same place?
Yeah.
There should be some things we don't have to debate or argue, and why are those things up for grabs again? I'm not sure I understand how that happened, but it did. And I saw it this year. In fact, I had kids refuse to do the assignment connected with Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Yeah. And as if I were being partisan in some way. And
Mm-hmm.
what do you do with that? So I'm just putting that out there, as I think that the situation is really become complicated by the internet and a lack of common understanding about things. Like public schools are where you learn your values, you learn your history.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't a partisan delivery. It isn't a perspective. It's just timelines, and if I could be totally candid, there's no time to be partisan. You're just trying to get some facts and figures out there and get them in their heads,
Uh-huh.
But anyway, I think that's the hard part, is that common ground. And I tell my students, I had an uncle who died in the Pacific. He joined the Submariners underage. His 3 older brothers were fighting in the Second World War in Europe and Africa, and he felt duty bound to join them, and he did. And he died in the Pacific as a result when the Japanese sank his submarine. And those documents mean something to me because I understand that sacrifice, because I lived with those stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so your poem, Charlotte, resonates with me because I understand that investment on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
But I also work with kids who don't have a sense of their own personal history to know what that might be. And I'm right now, so I'm going to stop. But I think that's why we need our poetry, and we need those things to retell those stories. If we can go back to the Odyssey, we can maybe go back to the Revolution. I don't know.
Absolutely. The National Poet Laureate, Ada Limon, although I guess we have a new one now. I heard just a piece of her talk on some of the poems that she's written and how she wants to wake up the world. That's what poetry can do, is open eyes, wake people up. So there's a real place for it. And it's a good poem, Charlotte. Great images. And you read it well. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't see you do the entire performance of the Tai Chi. I do Tai Chi, and I could get
well, I mean, the screen, I can't get Hold the Moon on the screen, but you know what it is. Yeah.
I could go with something here.
Okay.
This is from last August, well, or maybe even September, when we had that, after we had that big rain.
Huh.
And I kind of don't often do it. Sam says that when the muse strikes, he just goes and writes, right? And I don't often sit down with the purpose of thinking I want to write a poem today, but on this day I did, and then I couldn't get anything out except something about the rain. So this is called Erased by the Rain. I had intended this poem to be about something else, and then came the rain. Why write about lost love, opportunities missed, chances not taken, when the viciousness of that bucketing rain is doing all it can to make those things meaningless today, which of course they are, having only the slightest value as words fit to stanza and verse, specially ordered on a page, amid deepening puddles, swelling brooks, feeding, rushing rivers spilling from their banks, hillsides and houses, byways and bridges, breath and life erased by the rain. Thank you.
We were gone for 5 weeks this winter, and we came home, and our driveway had been erased by the rain.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the way this week is supposed to go with all the rain also kind of led me to write that one, because there's been no pickleball for days. Driving me crazy.
Well, that rain that day happened to occur on my birthday. So I will always remember that day and that 10-inch rainfall here. And I had water in my basement for about 3 days.
Wow.
It's known as the August 18th storm.
Prithvijit, have heavy rains been a part of a symptom of climate change or of the weather patterns in your part of the world?
Not so much here, but in the western part of the country, it's been a persistent problem. And of course, what I've noticed over the years, especially in the last 3 to 4 years, it almost rains during all the months, whether it's during all the seasons. In fact, it almost rained a few days back. It got cloudy. It was not a huge downfall, but it rained, and that has never been the normal, scheme of things. I mean, I did not grow up and see this kind of a weather. If it was hot summer, it was the height of summer. It was monsoon. We knew that it would begin in June, end around September. But now, almost every month is marked by some kind of rain. That's a cause for concern everywhere. It's happening everywhere. So that's a common unifier for
Right.
sure.
I wonder to what extent the uncertainties that come with these erratic weather events and changes in centuries of weather patterns contribute to the crankiness or the sort of the intolerance or the impatience that we experience in political life as well. If on some level something isn't right and it expresses itself in other ways, the symptom expresses itself in some other form. It's hard. We have a local farm in Woodbury, and it's called The Farm, and you go out there to get your produce and you find out what they went through to cover the strawberries with plastic over before the rain came to try to protect the crop, and they're at the mercy of whatever happens in their fields, and it just puts a different spin on what the price is on a packaged strawberries, and having tried to grow them and having become a regular customer of people who live close to the earth and live by selling their produce, I'm a little less bothered by the price. You realize they're putting a lot on the line to try to succeed as farmers.
Right. Your turn, Sam.
Okay. All right. Well, my this is a poem for Mother's Day in the United States, Prithvijit. That would be next Sunday, and
Yes.
I had a wonderful mother, but she was early for everything, and she taught me to be early for everything. And
Huh.
sometimes we would go to the doctor's office and be an hour early, like
Oh,
It's the same with my father. We reach everywhere 2 hours before.
because the worst you could do is, and this just makes me feel doubly bad that we made the mistake about yesterday. The worst thing you could do is waste somebody's time, leave them waiting. It is. And when I was a kid in high school dating, if a boy was late for a date, my father would just pace and say, "I wouldn't go out there." You know,
oh.
movies, Dad. You know, it's like, yeah, time is what we have. But I recently dedicated a crabapple tree, which is a native tree to Connecticut in the North Cemetery in Woodbury, which is got some ancestors in there. So mom's in with her distant past relatives. And it's a beautiful little crabapple tree. It's got a few little ailments, but my mother would have adopted it too. So anyway, this poem is called Delivery. Mothers give everything to their babies. I lost some hair and my teeth loosened when I carried you. It's what moms do. This is true for you, crabapple tree. First to flower, first to leaf, your blossoms fuchsia with the ruddy blush of spring on a cool morning, as your long drink of water, rich with earth gifts, rises to the ends of you, as you hold onto the face of the sun and grip the earth with roots sunk deep into the dark of history, pushing forth ruby gems, fruit that will become the feast of winter, when the deer, whose mothers gave them everything, will graze the cold world, walking possibly alone.
That's beautiful. I like that.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mhm. I love the way you speak to the tree in the context of the poem. It's wonderful.
The cemetery lady's a little worried about it.
Oh my.
In me, my mom. Just, I guess that's a universal feeling.
I like how everyone here is so in tune to nature. I like that red of the crabapple. I've seen it in bud where it's just can't imagine what the flower is going to be, and then it's not nearly as red when it comes out. But I like it's nice to know that everyone's in touch with nature. I feel like now I'm going to sound like an old curmudgeon, but I feel like the younger generation is less in touch with nature, and there's a huge loss. And I don't know how to share that joy of these little simple things.
Yeah, cyberspace interferes, I think, for many young people. They're living in their phones,
Yeah.
not looking at the sky. I mean, it's a generalization, but we see that.
This has been People and Their Poems. Glad you could join us. If you'd like to know more about what we do, please visit our website at OreNogMountainPublishing.com. Check out our poetry anthologies and learn how you can take part in an upcoming collection. And learn more about our services. Let us help you publish your next book. Once again, this has been People and Their Poems, presented by Oronog Mountain Publishing. Have a great day.